Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Kaufman and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive.
Okay, on this episode, we are continuing our previous conversation of how chiropractic care can impact and benefit the nervous system postpartum, right? So we're thinking about care after baby, which most of us stop thinking about our care and ourselves once baby comes and we just shift to baby. And last episode, we talked about why that would not have worked for either of us. And so what does birth, let's talk about what birth actually does to a mom's body. Right. And then we're not going to talk about this is all in a good light, right? We were designed to have babies and give birth. And so this is all a natural event, but let's talk about what can happen here. So birth in general is just a neurological marathon, no matter how, sometimes it's a sprint for me, but that's sprinting is still intense. We had to go the same distance, right? We had to was in and it had to come out, right? So a challenge. It's a challenge. And your nervous system, it would be super helpful that it's ready to go and tap into, let's have a baby. As I believe the pattern is to start having a baby, it's okay, we have to dip into parasympathetic. So all those hormones that's have the baby hormones. And then to get baby out, we then dip into sympathetic.
The hormones kind of shift down.
Shift down. And then we shift back into parasympathetic, I believe. But but your nervous system has to be adaptable to switch back and forth. And I think that's when a lot of moms probably stall in labor, is that they can't shift probably back into sympathetic to get things moving, right? And we see a lot
or vice versa.
Yeah. And so your nervous system needs to be ready to go in terms of adaptable. And then there's the physical effects of having a baby, right? Did you tear the pressure on your whole pelvic floor and your core, everything really? I feel like my biceps were sore.
Much pressure.
After I had the trauma to the pelvis, which again is it happens, that we're designed to heal from that. And then there's, I have a lot of moms who are I don't know what happened. I can't remember, but I am so sore in my upper back. And it's probably if they were holding on to a rebozo and you're doing lots of strange things to get baby out, right? And so your body truly went through some type of marathon. Or maybe I just did a Spartan sprint, which is a Tough Mudder in the Midwest. And that's a lot like having a baby. It's you're running and have the endurance and you have to do something with your upper body. Anyways, so I was I'm trained for this. I've had two babies.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
And actually, I did not train as much because I'm pretty tough. I've had home births.
Right.
I'll train more next time, but yeah. Okay, then there's the emotional load, which is definitely something that I felt is, this is a mind game of early labor, of just taking it easy and allowing your body to go through the steps of getting into active labor. For me, that was 2 whole days broken up of early labor. So that's a mind game. And then there's the intensity of active labor. That is such, so much of it can be mind over matter. But that's just, again, neurological adaptability. And then there's the after birth, postpartum, this huge hormonal shift of all of our progesterone and estrogen crashing, and then prolactin and oxytocin taking over. And it's just wild, truly wild. And that hormonal crash, it takes a big emotional toll on us. And then let's talk about or we don't have to talk about the lack of sleep and this new responsibility.
Talk about it.
All of those things, right? So all of this, when we're talking about stressors on our nervous system, there's 3 categories. There's emotional, physical, and chemical. And birth, you meet all of those really dramatically, really close together.
Overnight.
Yeah. Often actually overnight.
Yeah.
And so when we experience a lot of emotional, physical, chemical stress at once, it can overwhelm an unadaptable
Mhm.
nervous system and push us into fight or flight.
Mhm.
And so that introduces us to subluxation, right? And that is a miscommunication between our brain and body, and then body to brain, which is super important to have postpartum when your brain is trying to tell your body to make milk and to heal and to sleep and all these things, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think I just want to pull out that word like unadaptable, right? Because that's really all that means, is that whenever we are unadaptable, it's because there is a miscommunication somewhere. Because just like Dr. Serena has said over and over and over, we were designed for this, right? So whenever there is a lack of milk supply, or whenever there is a lack of sleep, or postpartum anxiety, or postpartum depression, or stress, or all of those things, it simply is just that the brain is trying to make sense of something it can't understand, because there's dysfunction, there's miscommunication, there's a subluxation, which is what we call here in the office, right? And so it's both encouraging and also discouraging, I feel like, to know, I feel like that's what I hear in my office all the time. It's like, how are you addressing all of these things with one thing? And we're actually not addressing all of those things. We are just addressing one thing, which is then in turn addressing all of the other things, right? So it's like, yes, when you're, coming into the office, I would say probably even 90% of the time, there are less interventions that you need for labor and delivery and postpartum just by getting your nervous system checked, because if that is online, everything we just explained in postpartum was neurological, right? Even the hormonal shifts and the chemicals, right? That you still need a detox, right? And have those things going. That's part of the healing process. All of what we just talked about, even though it sounded intense, even though it sounded like there was a lot going on, because there is, but it all comes back to the nervous system. And if it is not functioning properly, then any point in time of that journey is going to be a lot harder. And we don't need more hard where there's already hard, right? Especially if we're already struggling to adapt to birth itself. And, for me, second time around, I had a lot of emotional stress over becoming a mom of two, right? Like, I just was like, felt like my whole life was ending and also starting and changing, floating away into space, right? Because I just had so much love. I just could like conceptualize. And, there's also this like aspect of unpredictability, right? That you also have to be, it's like you gotta be adaptable for what you can expect, but you also have to be adaptable for what you can't expect, right? You have a new human, you have a new personality, you don't know what that like whole rhythm is gonna look like in your family, and that alone was stressful to me, at least. So it's like, if you are struggling to get the basics of sleeping, of pooping, right, before you even have this baby, it's gonna be a heck of a lot harder to go through everything else that Dr. Serena just mentioned, on top of now you have a whole human that you're taking care of. And that's not even, we haven't even talked about that, right? So I just hope that as a listener, you are really understanding the power that is inside of your nervous system and how important it is to make sure it is operating at its highest capacity, especially as a mom who's trying to do all these things and do them well.
This might be a brief tangent, but I had a stat that I could probably throw out. So here, so this is my baby bump board, and I also have little onesies to keep track of like what mamas under care have had their babies. And I've only had one mama who's needed a C-section who's been under care with me. She was every other week. There's that. Let me just count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, out of the 9 births so far this year, only one has needed a C-section. And the American average for women who need C-sections is 1 of 3. So I'm not going to say that this is all me, right? A lot of these women are also choosing home births. I think most of these women have chosen home births. That's huge. And then they're apparently the demographic who's choosing home birth and chiropractic care, right? So they're choosing other things and keeping themselves out of this intervention cascade. But I don't think chiropractic is negligible in that statistic either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's setting up these women also for way better recovery.
Yeah.
Postpartum. So that's something I've been thinking about, that stat.
Yeah. Well, I even think it goes, I actually just had a conversation with one of my employees here who was like, I was having a hard time sleeping. I'm sleeping again after getting adjusted regularly. And I'm also started taking magnesium. And so I don't really know if it's the magnesium or if it's, I'm always like, okay, you also started getting adjusted. And what made you choose to start taking magnesium again? were you just more in tune with your body and realizing you maybe needed more support? So I'm gonna say both of those are chiropractic wins because I just think it's so funny how it's like I just so happened to start something entirely new the same week I started chiropractic care, and it's like, well, what made you want to do that new thing? What finally pushed your nervous system over the edge to finally do the thing that you know you've been wanting to do for a while? But I'm just saying they're both wins, right? Like, so yes.
I found that people really hesitate to give chiropractic credit. They're like,
just seems too good to be true. I
think. And it's usually like a week into care. Like, well, I noticed this really crazy improvement, but surely it's this other thing that I knew that I did. And I just was like, okay. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, well, this is still really good. And this really is the most impactful thing that's changed. So it has to be chiropractic care.
Right.
Typically.
It does take, it's like a buffer.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I let people come to their own conclusions usually. Like, you can give this credit when you're ready. That's fine.
Right. It will come back around because you can only have so many. Yeah. Okay. Now we're anyways. I feel like there's one more thing maybe we talked about the shift and how.
Yeah. So maybe what are some, we could talk about some like, okay, how do I know that maybe my nervous system isn't adaptable postpartum?
I like it.
And do you want to talk about these or do you want me to hit them?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just probably going to read off this little list we got here.
Yeah. So we can talk about, go for it.
So like breastfeeding pain, if you're having trouble breastfeeding, or even if your baby's having latch issues, that could be a both baby and mom needs to be checked. Trouble sleeping even when baby sleeps. This is especially if you have a baby who has trouble sleeping in general, can develop a little bit of PTSD, like waiting and anticipating your baby to wake up. That is typically a sign you have some stored stress in your body from baby. Pelvic floor issues or low core engagement. So this is things like even like incontinence and recovery, pelvic floor recovery, pain in like the front where like a pubic symphysis is. All of that can definitely be a sign. Mood swings, crying, anxiety, numbness, just really feeling like you're a different person, experiencing different emotions, typically on the negative side, right? A little bit more sad, a little bit more worried, a little bit more anxious. All of these things can be tied to nervous system function, not just time healing all wounds. So we always think that, it's just like eventually, you're gonna go through a crappy postpartum experience and come out the other side, but it can be that you could actually enjoy postpartum if you addressed all of these are really signs that your body is just craving some function inside of it.
Yeah. And so you can tell us these things, and some of these things are going to be like, yeah, okay, let's go see a pelvic floor therapist because often our pelvic floor needs some PT help, right? But how we know is this our job is we have our neurological insight scans, right? That can tell us so much about what you're experiencing, right? Maybe that's TMI. But there are ways to, like, there are correlations with pelvic floor and nervous system, emotional, physical well-being too, right? And it can take a team of pelvic floor PT and chiropractic care to get that back online, right? Because if our sacrum and all of the nerves coming out of our sacrum are talking to our pelvic floor, and our sacrum is really stressed after birth, which is super common, right? It just had to move across the world to let baby out. And did it go back to where it needed to go, right? And so that can be neurological, and that's something that would show up on our insight scans of a lot of stress in the pelvis, right? Or, wow, your pelvis looks actually great. Our EMG scan shows it's great. It looks really balanced on thermography. Your nervous system looks good. Okay, let's just refer you to pelvic floor PT, so she can really, like tackle this for you. Right. I mean, I'm never going to turn someone away from chiropractic care, but it's going to change the care plan and our goals. And that's how we know the difference of, okay, is this something that your nervous system could work on? Or, okay, that looks really good. Let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about resources you have to help you at home. Those kinds of things, right? How do we help you get the care you need? So if it's...
But I also find...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say, I also find, sometimes we start with those other things. Oh, you kind of hit on it, your recovery, right? The nutrition or the exercises that you need to do after postpartum. You probably are not going to have the adaptability to even do those things and follow through with any of it if you're not getting adjusted.
Yeah.
So even at the very least, just so you can find the, balance, the energy and the focus and all of that side inside of you first can help you to actually follow through with the other aspects of care that you're needing in that season. Chiropractic care isn't everything for that postpartum experience, but it absolutely will help you balance the energy and focus and adaptability you need to do everything else well in your postpartum journey.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like I said, I'm never turning anyone away from chiropractic care, but the insight scans give us just that. They give us insight into where's the root of possibly like your specific complaints that you're struggling with, and how do we best direct you to that help. And then usually, always, not usually, always, we're providing really specific adjustments to address those places of dis-ease, or what we call subluxation. And that's where the real healing begins, right? We're removing that stress that's built up in your nervous system from experiencing the emotional, chemical, physical stressors. It allows your brain to reconnect to your body, and then your body reconnect to your brain. And that's when healing just takes off. And yeah, it's so cool. And I feel like a mom in postpartum, her body's already primed to be healing. And so it can just take off like crazy in her healing better, which is really cool to see.
And I also want to add, I feel like sometimes with people are like postpartum, I don't even want to like move, right? So we are not your average chiropractors where you just go and lay face down on the table for every ailment. I have adjusted people standing. I adjust people sitting. I adjust people, laying up, laying down. There is a way to get you adjusted and to release stress without making you uncomfortable or making it feel like scary or, I feel like that's a big question that someone might have postpartum, is being like, is it going to hurt? No, it shouldn't hurt. And I am sorry for anyone who says different, because it should be comfortable. It should be about releasing stress where there's too much and adding kind of stress where there's not enough, right? Waking up and calming down, and that process to actually make you feel better, and it is comfortable and it is safe no matter where you're at in your, journey as a human, honestly. But yeah.
Very true. Yeah, lots of moms have questions about that.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to our postpartum TED Talk.
We want to do the part that's the closing of, you train so well for birth. Let us help you recover just as well.
I love it. Make sure you either comment birth or, I don't know, follow along at either Haven Health Chiropractic in Ankeny or Vessel Chiro. Is it just Vessel Chiropractic?
Vessel Chiro. Yeah.
Oh, Vessel Chiro in Idaho. Do you want to close out in prayer?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Dear Lord, thank you for designing us to birth and to heal and to bring life into this world. What a gift and opportunity to grow ourselves spiritually, emotionally, physically. Also, Lord, thank you for the gift of chiropractic to help us transition into motherhood with more ease and more balance by removing those stressors that can add up into our nervous system. Lord, please guide all of our mamas listening and all of the mamas who should be listening to a place that will serve their nervous systems well, so they can enjoy this life that you've gifted them. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz
And Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.